first day back at work after nearly a year. Obviously, I took time off to have my second baby. And yeah, today's my first day back, and I am nervous. Now, I was just saying to my mum, I'm not consciously nervous at all. Like, I'm going back to my old workplace. I'm not like, even though it's okay to be scared, I'm not scared about going back, you know what I mean? Like, it's a comfortable place. I know everyone. I'm comfortable with my job. There's no like fear there, but I guess unconsciously, I'm doing something different to what I have been doing for a year, and my body is responding to that with fear. And I think maybe also the idea of leaving my baby. She's with mum and dad today, so, you know, again, there's no like conscious fear there. I'm not worried about her, but just being separated from your baby, especially because Juliet's only 9 months old. She's 9 months today, so she's still little. And yeah, it's funny when you're a mum because you kind of long for time away and time to yourself and time to be you again, but then when you get it, it just feels so weird and so like alien that you kind of long to be back with your baby again. I thought this would be a good time to vlog because I know that you guys like the vlogs I do when I am sort of doing an exposure, and this really does feel like an exposure from, you know, years ago, because my body is reacting in exactly the same way as it used to. I know some people might think, like, does that mean that this never goes away? What the hell? Am I always gonna have to put up with these feelings? But it's not that anxiety, hang on, let me balance my thoughts here. Anxiety doesn't ever go away, no, because it is a normal emotion, and there are going to be times where you feel it, like when you go back to work after a year off of having your baby. You're going to feel anxious, whether or not you're consciously anxious or not. Your body's going to feel a bit scared, and things are going to feel a bit abnormal. Whenever you break out of your routine or break out of the norm, your body is going to respond, and that is normal. I think when we're in the thick of it, we kind of want confirmation that we're never going to feel this way again. You know, we want to know, like, I want to be rid of this and I never want to have to deal with it again. I want to get through life the way that everyone else seems to, where I can just do anything and not be so afraid. But the reality isn't like that. I think that we get caught up on the idea that, you know, life is so easy for everyone else and that other people don't feel anxiety and don't feel nerves. And maybe some people don't feel it to the extent that we do, but I feel like across the board, everybody experiences anxiety, everybody experiences a nervous stomach. We forget that. So that's really important to remember. And I think that part of getting to a really good place with your anxiety means getting to a good place with yourself, and recognizing that all these emotions have a place inside you, and that fear has a place inside you just as much as joy and happiness does. It's not any less of an emotion, it's not any less relevant to your life. It's needed, it's necessary, and you don't want to get rid of it ultimately. So with that said, I rarely feel this way now. The whole thing that I've been going through this morning, I haven't experienced this in such a long time. I used to feel this every day. Now I can't remember the last time I felt it. But basically what happened is I woke up this morning and I immediately had a sick feeling stomach. And I'm like, why do I feel sick? Like, I'm not nervous. I'm not, you know, I know it's my first day of work, but I don't feel anxious. And then I start thinking, like, shit, I must really be sick. Like, what the fuck? What's going on? Because I scan my body and I can't find a reason for the anxiety. I can't find a reason for the nausea. I'm like, I must actually be sick. And this was a common dance that I used to do with myself, where, you know, it was like, I can't figure out if I'm sick or if I'm just anxious. It used to be quite hard to tell the difference. But this morning I was able to kind of slow myself down and recognize what features of this are more familiar with anxiety and what features of this are more familiar with being sick. So woke up with a sick stomach, had to go to the toilet within like 30 minutes of waking up, and then I had to keep going to the toilet again and again and again, and I'm like, wow, like what is going on here? And also trying to care for a 9-month-old at the same time. That was challenging. And I kept thinking while this was happening, I must actually be sick. Like, I feel queasy, you know, I keep needing to go to the toilet, I must be sick. But what I noticed is that every time I went to the bathroom, I would get a little bit more panicked, and I'd start to get a little bit numb in my hands, and I'd start to feel those familiar panic attack sensations. Whereas conversely, I was actually sick recently. I was legitimately sick, and I wasn't panicked about it. I was just sick. Like, there was no room for me to panic about it because of how yuck I felt physically. It was just different. And so I kind of started to have an inkling of like, all right, this is just nerves. Even though I am not consciously nervous, these are nerves. But then there's that question of, so how do I go about my day when my body is reacting like this? Like, how can I go to work? How can I get in the car and drive there? How can I, you know, stand around and do my job when I feel like I have to run to the bathroom? And what if, there was still that little what if I am actually sick? And you guys probably know what I'm going to say because it's a very familiar refrain of mine, but I really just had to give myself the old, if you're sick, you're sick. If it happens today, it happens today. You know, there's nothing to stop me from going to work and being sick there if I am actually sick, you know, and I'll deal with that then. I don't need to sit at home and project my mind into the future and try and figure out what I'm going to do if this happens and what I'm going to do if that happens. All I need to do is move my body into the future and then figure out what I'm going to do if and when those things occur. So that was the first step. The second step was reminding myself of a thing called common humanity, which is, if you've ever done any self-compassion work with Dr. Kristen Neff, read any of her books, you'll know what common humanity is. But basically it's the idea that we don't suffer alone, we don't struggle alone. Like, there is not a human being on this planet who doesn't understand what it is like to suffer and struggle, unfortunately. It's common amongst all of us. You know, we tend to think that we're the only ones going through what we're going through, and we're the only ones who have ever felt this way, or who have felt this bad, or who have experienced life this way. But we're not. Like, it's such a common thing. Suffering is so common. Struggling is so common. Toilet anxiety, I've found out over the years, is so common. Much more than you would ever realize. And so I kind of cast my mind back to conversations I've had with people, and I remembered one woman in particular that I used to work with at my job, who was having a really hard time with her stomach. She was having, I can't remember what it was exactly, but maybe diverticulitis or something like that. Anyway, she was sick every day. Like, she would come to work and she would run to the bathroom when she needed to. And I mean, ideally she shouldn't have been working because she was sick, but I remember thinking at the time, like, how is she managing to work while also, you know, needing to go to the bathroom? Whereas for me, that was such a, you know, it was like, how could I go to work if I feel that way? Like, surely not. And so I reminded myself that other people suffer with things like this. Other people struggle. They struggle, you know, other people struggle worse. I don't have it super bad. And And yeah, just it sounds weird, like thinking of other people's struggles makes me feel better, but it's more a method of not isolating yourself, not separating yourself from the world, and reminding yourself that you can still be a necessary and normal part of the world, even if you are suffering, even if you are struggling. Your struggles don't separate you from everyone else. Your struggles actually connect you to everyone else in a much larger, more genuine, more authentic way. So yeah, that was the next thing I did. And then after that, I really just physically slowed down. So instead of trying to get ready for work, I sat down on the playmat with my daughter and just played. And I just did some deep breathing. I feel like this would usually be people's, like, you know, when you go to websites and Google like how to deal with anxiety, one of the first ones is like, take some deep breaths. It's always the first go-to, and it's one of the ones that we are so quick to like go, yeah, okay, I know that, I'm not going to do that because that just doesn't work. But not only does it work, but it also acts to stop you from doing that jumping into the future thing and trying to figure out, you know, what you're going to do when this happens. And it also helps with that feeling of separation as well, because it connects you to your physical immediate world. It connects me to my daughter, it connects me to the ground, it connects me to, you know, my place in my immediate surroundings, and is just so grounding. And also reminded me of what's actually important, like looking at my little one playing with toys and like doing her little claps and stuff. It's like, this is what I'm going to work for. It kind of takes you out of that like, oh my God, catastrophizing phase, and brings you back into, this is my reality. This is the things I love in my world. And this is what's important. And prior to, you know, having Lila, having Juliet, I used to do this with my dog. So pets is a great one to do it with, but just sit down wherever you are and take some time to ground into your surroundings and notice where you are, who you are, what you are, what's important to you. And now I am pretty much at work. So that was an easy drive. It's always much easier when I'm filming and talking to you guys, because I feel like I'm actually having a conversation with friends. So thank you all for watching and being here with me. I very much appreciate it. You guys holding my hand on my first day back. But yeah, very bright. I just want you to know that if you are struggling with exposure, do these three things I think it was, 4 things, I don't know, I'm anxious, so I can't count right now. Do these things and slow down, remind yourself of what's important, what's real, remind yourself of common humanity, and remind yourself that you don't have to predict the future. It's not your job to predict the future, because that takes the fun out of everything. Wish me luck. All right, bye guys.